aren't they? They make those life choices which help them develop, and they're missing out on all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and you need to be outdoors, don't you, as well, as a kid?
You need to be out climbing trees, pinching apples, getting into trouble, scraping the knees, breaking an odd bone, like we did when we were kids.
Exactly. And I think people forget that, don't they?
Yeah, running away from local Bobby.
Not too fast.
Not too fast. But yeah, they're the life skills, aren't they? You develop as a kid, and they sort of mold you and shape you into the kind of adult you're going to be.
Yeah, and it's them relationships, isn't it? Talking to people, understanding them relationships. It's part of that sort of big part of it.
Yeah. So we should be. It's about 3 minutes to 6, I think, mate. So we'll probably not have time to get a question. And what we'll do is, I'll as soon as we get on live, eventually, the 6 o'clock thing will be with doing the Captain Tom thing. So I'll just go off for about 2 minutes and come back, and then we'll go straight into it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you run it, mate. You just ask me any questions you want.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. Have you had your vaccination yet, Mark?
Yes.
Good man.
Yeah, I was up there one evening patrolling it when we was finishing. So I've managed to. What about yourself?
Yes, I did it the first day I volunteered.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, first day I volunteered. So I got slated over it, but the centre said that I needed to have it done, so I had it done. But anyway, so
the thing is, you need to have it done, don't you?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Yeah, we're live now, but it's 2 minutes to 6, so we'll wait until everyone's got
Yeah. Okay. So, hello everybody. We're on Facebook Live tonight with Inspector Mark Dickson and myself, Lee Anderson, a Member of Parliament. Sam, my office genius and apprentice, is helping administer the group tonight. We're going to leave actually in about 1 minute's time, just to go outside and clap for Captain Tom Moore to show our respects, and we should be back in 2 or 3 minutes back after 6 o'clock. So get your questions ready. Get ready to type in the box. I've got some questions that have been emailed in already, and we'll be quizzing and grilling the inspector tonight. So I'll see you in a couple of minutes. Right, so you're back. I can see you, Inspector. So we're back on Facebook Live. So I just want to welcome Inspector Mark Dickson, who's kindly agreed tonight to take questions from the public. Now, there's going to be questions in two parts, really. I've had some people that's already emailed in with the questions. That's good. That's fine. We've also got people who can actually type in the comments below, and I'll do my best. I've got my pen and paper here, so I can write them down while Mark's talking to you. So we'll have a bit of a mixture. And remember, this is just people from Ashfield and Eastwood, but you know, I only want people who's from this area to ask a question. So I'm going to kick off with a few email questions that we've had in before we start and go through the comments on the Facebook Live page. So let me just get them up for you. And one of the questions we've got, Mark, is about off-roaders, off-road bikes. Can you give us an update, please, on what Ashfield Police are doing about nuisance motorbikes, scramblers, and off-roaders?
Yeah, of course. Firstly, thank you for putting this together and offering this invite up. It's really good to be able to speak to the members of the public, especially in this limited sort of capacity we've got with the current COVID restrictions. And thank you to everyone who's taken the time to log in tonight to watch this. Clearly, these are people who care about the community. So, off-roaders, a big bane in the life of most of the residents in Ashfield in various areas. And we are doing a lot of work around this particular piece of work. So, start with the management of it, really. We've got a sergeant over at Hucknall called Colin Morley. He's part of the off-road bike team. As you can imagine, he loves to get on his motorbike and get out and about and get amongst these people. So as often as we can, we try and deploy that team. So it's a specialist team. There's several of them across the force. It's a case of pulling them all together at the same time, getting them in and getting them deployed across the area. We have recruited at least 2 more. We may be looking at further than that as well, depending on financing and budgeting. So that team is getting expanded as we speak. The problem around off-roaders isn't restricted to Ashfield. Certainly Underwood, Gedling, they have massive problems, as do Mansfield. So of course there's quite a demand for that team in general. So they do deploy as often as they can. You may have seen earlier in the year we deploy a spray now, which is we're the first force in the country to use. It's a specialist, easiest way of describing it is a DNA spray, basically. It's called Smart Tag, and we can spray it on bikers as they're passing key positions, and it will give us a unique DNA identifier when we identify them later down the line. There are some issues around managing this. Obviously, there's a risk of injury both to officers, the public, and the bike riders themselves. So we've got to be really balanced around pursuits and things like that, and they are very closely managed. Today, I was having a chat with some staff from the Felly. They've had issues over the weekend, so we're doing a lot of work with them. We're using the drone to really good effect as well at the moment. So we're doing a lot of work. There is still more to do, as you can imagine. A couple of the areas of frustration for me slightly. Some of the areas that go to lead onto private land or like forestry land and places like that. We do have a little bit of issues at times trying to get people to secure their own lands. You know, these guys are covering mass areas. So yeah, anyone who's suffering from this area, please get in touch through the MPT website, the MPT email box. I'll get Lee to stick the details up. But if you are suffering from it and you own the land, just have a look at entry and exit points. If we can cut them off, we can limit the ability of the riders. And likewise, if you get in touch, I'll pass your details on to Colin Morley, and we can put together a bit more of a formulated plan around them. Yeah, it's an interesting piece of work. There's a lot going on around it. We do have a dedicated lead for it. We do have a dedicated team, and we are out and about trying to do the best we can around them.
Okay, thanks, Mark. So Beth Nixon is online. She's asked about more police presence in our town centres. Can we have some, please? That's what she's asking.
Hello, Beth. Thank you for your question. Yeah, simple answer to that. At the moment, we have taken some of the offices out of the town centres. The shops are opening to a limited capacity. Footfall in the shops and in the town centres is slightly limited. So we have reduced our presence in there a little. That said, we are still there. We've done some quite big operations in the town centres. So if you remember back certainly around November, December time, we had Op Mascarpone, which was covert and overt policing. There was quite a serious incident in the Sundial where one of our cars was attacked by a guy with a hammer. We had some really good success around that. Over the week or two we ran that. And likewise, when we came out of the first national lockdown, we made sure that there was the same operation Op Mascarpone in place to support them. As we start getting back to some level of normality and the lockdown starts easing, we will be looking at patrolling more into the town centres. We are aware that it's an area of ASB. Retail crime is obviously going to pick up as more shops open and there's more footfall in the areas.
Yeah.
So we will be doing a lot more work around them as and when they get a little bit more busy.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. So Lorraine Orton online, she wants an update on the new cross area and any progress regarding security, lighting, cameras, antisocial behaviour, drug use, etc. She is aware that a lot of this is linked to the council. I know you kindly came down a few months back and met residents with me. So can you give us a little bit of an update of the new cross area, please?
Yeah, of course. Lorraine, thank you for your question. I don't know if you was part of the meeting that we had in the new cross. I can't remember when it was now, probably about June, July time, I guess, maybe a little bit after that. So yeah, we are aware of the area. For us, New Cross fits in really, really tightly with Outram Street, where we have got a lot of issues, and we sort of band it under that same area, really, in terms of policing. We've got 4 police staff working in that area at the moment, doing a lot of stuff around there. A lot of proactive bits and pieces go on. Some overt, some covert. It's usually one of our focuses when we go out on the knife crime patrols. It's also part of our focus for any drug patrols we do, and also for the anti-social behaviour patrols. So it does get a lot of attention, but we appreciate quite often we won't see everything, we won't be aware of it, and we can't be there 24 hours a day. Going forward, just to sort of cover a couple of the direct areas you mentioned. Myself and Lee met, I think it was just before Christmas, wasn't it, Lee, and discussed CCTV. Absolutely, I'd love to see more CCTV in the area. I think it's a great tool, a great benefit, and I would of course support any bit around that, certainly around New Cross. I definitely think you need it. In terms of the management of the area, that's more of a council area, and that's something the council would have to sort of feed into. We do work closely with various agencies within the council. This week, so it launched today, Monday it actually started. We've launched Op Springboard, which is a joint patrolling initiative with the ASB team, and you'll be seeing from Friday this week a joint patrol going out with a PCSO and a CPO, and they'll be going out and doing patrols across the whole district. Part of that is the New Cross, Outram Street, Welbeck, Bentic, and all around that area, Mucky Lane, all that type of stuff will be brought into.
Okay. So we also have Shani and Tracy Jetson from Stanton Hill, Mark, who are complaining of sheds being broken into, properties and bikes being stolen, and they feel that Stanton Hill is being ignored a little bit.
Yeah, so thank you, Shani and Tracy. Stanton Hill, not getting ignored. Again, we are aware of the issues up there. We are putting a lot of work into that. Quite recently, we arrested a burglar up there and got him put away for quite a while. Been doing a lot of work around drugs and antisocial behaviour up there. Myself and Lee were up there in back end of November, and I was also up there early in December with Paddy Tippin and Jason Zadrozny having a wander around. So we are aware of the issues you've got up there. You'll be pleased to know that Stanton Hill is, of course, going to be part of the patrol plan of Op Springboard, so you will be seeing more of a regular presence up there. It is one of the areas the Reach team are doing some work around as well. So yeah, we're aware of the issues up there. we are doing a bit more work around that. It's another area I think Stanton Hill could benefit with CCTV cameras from. It would help us with our investigations into things like burglaries, shed breaks, all that type of stuff. So we are onto it.
So I guess on that, Mark, when we COVID secure, we're coming out of this pandemic, will you agree to meet with me and Stanton Hill residents for a walk round the village and take on board some of these comments? Would that be okay?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. As soon as we come out of this lockdown, if you put it in your diary and arrange it, not a problem. I'll quite happily come up there. We'll have a wander around. Kev Ayres, the beat manager, he'll come out as well, and he'll be able to tell you some of the great work he's been doing in that area as well. Okay.
So I'm also getting asked, Mark, about the boy racers going around Huthwaite and Stanton Hill.
Yeah. So boy racers, big issue. Well, across the force nationally, but we are aware of the sort of Huthwaite area, Stanton Hill area. Again, we've done some big operations. September we had an operation out, and again, I know Lee came out with it, and Helen Ansmith came out as well, where we had a load of road policing teams out, and we actually made an arrest off Stanton Hill. We did some really good work around there. In relation to Stanton Hill and Huthwaite, the cells and boy racers, so we do a lot of work with the road policing team. They're tactical advanced drivers. They've been up in the area. We've usually got what we call a northern car, so the car that covers the north of the county, coming into Ashfield. You may have seen him on interceptors, a gentleman by the name of Phil. He's always up here. The ARVs pop by quite a lot, so ARVs are our armed response vehicles. What they give us is a tactical option. So there's a lot of risk with boy racers to the public predominantly. So it's quite easy for us to get behind these people, but if they make off and start travelling at speed, we've got to consider the risk to the public. So we need specialised people in them areas. So we are getting them up to the area. As a force, we've recruited more. So the roads policing team are increasing their numbers. The tactical support teams, they're increasing their numbers. They've got advanced drivers, and they're regularly in our area. And of course, we've got more people doing standard drive and SIPs, which is our immediate sort of pursuit tactic, if you want.
Okay. So following on from that, Mark, we've got Karen Wallace, who lives on the Oval. I know Karen. She's sort of bringing up the same issue, which is speeding cars, motorbikes around the Oval, you know, like a racetrack. The speed bumps do absolutely nothing. Somebody's going to get hurt, and it's mainly at evening times. Now, I know you've done a lot of work on the Oval, hell of a lot of work over the past year. So can you just give Karen some comfort that, you know, things are happening on there, please?
Yeah, of course. Karen, thank you for your question. Yeah, we are doing a lot of work around the Oval. It does draw a lot of attention. You'll probably see, and it's worth noting, on our Facebook site, you'll often see mention to Fatal 4. Fatal 4 is looking at speeding, dangerous driving and the likes. So we do put them out really, really regularly. The Sutton team under Kate Long do a lot of work around that. And likewise, quite recently, the Reach team and the Sutton MPT team have both done a lot of Fatal 4 in and around, mainly around Carset. We have not deliberately gone onto the Oval, but we will pull the overall in. We'll make that a little bit more of a targeted spot for us in the future. So the next Fatal 4, rest assured, Karen, we will be doing it right in the middle of the Oval.
So Phil Dawes says, as part of police operations in Stanton Hill, would this include Teversall Football Club and the Teversall Trail Visitor Centre, who have been victims of break-ins, which is causing financial hardship to both the football club and the visitor centre?
Yeah, definitely, Phil. We'd be definitely looking around Teversall, around that area. Obviously, any area what backs onto Stanton Hill, Skegby, all around there will be pulled in as part of that same part of it. One of the issues I often find around Stanton Hill is people don't give us a lot of information. They're quite they keep it to themselves quite a lot of the time. So please let us know. You can either report online or you can report via the 101. The more we know about issues in the area, the better we can sort of put a response and tailor that response. But yeah, rest assured, Phil, we will be looking at them areas. We will be targeting for you.
So we've got one from Alan Randall from Huthwaite. He's concerned about speeding cars on Common Road. is a bit of a rat run, to be honest. It says that cars can often be going down at 70 miles an hour, when actually it's a 30 mile an hour speed limit. And I've actually done some speed watches on there, Mark, before, and they do fly down there. Any advice? What can we do? Can we get a speed survey on Common Road?
Yeah, so there's a few bits. We did a little bit probably back end of the summer when it reared its head. We had a van up there for a while, and we did some high vis work around that area. Unfortunately for us, I say unfortunately, it's quite a good thing, I suppose. We didn't get any speeders. Now, whether that's because they saw the van and saw the presence of the police officers and slowed down, which is a good thing because prevention is always going to be better than cure. A couple of things I would suggest around Common Road. It is one of those areas which keep getting mentioned. So potentially going into Nottinghamshire City County Council and having a look at the road layout, maybe having a look at speeding signs, you know, the flashing signs which give you the speed you're travelling at, and looking at doing some more preventative work around that. Generally speaking, them signs are usually quite good. They usually seem to take a little bit of speed off. That falls outside of our jurisdiction, but I would strongly support any application for that. And again, Common Road will be part of their Fatal 4 next time we're out running them, which will be in the next sort of week or so.
So would you suggest then that me as the MP should ask for a speed survey?
Yeah, it would definitely, it wouldn't go amiss, Lee, and I would fully support that survey. And again, any findings from that would potentially give us a little bit more ammunition for anything we need to do in the future.
Okay. So we've got hundreds of questions. We've got all my emails to get through. I've got people putting questions on the chat all the time. So I do apologise if I don't see everyone. I'm trying to look at two screens here. I'm not ignoring anybody. So I'll go back onto the emails we've got in. And well, we've got Adrian. I don't know if he's watching tonight, but he emailed in earlier. It says, credit to the Reacher team, posting videos of drug raids. You're doing a super job. Can we see some videos of other areas targeted, as they are powerful messages to the community?
Yeah, thank you, Adrian. The Reacher team done a cracking job since they landed it in October. So it's a sergeant and 7 on there. However, they're not doing it on their own. They are working really, really closely with your local neighbourhood teams. So be that Sutton, Kirkby or Hucknall. In terms of putting messages on from other areas, we tend not to. And the reason being that we manage our own areas. So as an MPI, neighbourhood police inspector, I'm in charge of everything what happens in Ashfield. And I want to control the message what goes out to the locals because I know the investigations behind that. I would love to show some videos of work we've done in Eastwood, work we've done in Newark and Mansfield with the other teams, because some of that is really, really good and really interesting. I'll give you an example. On Friday, the Reacher team from Ashfield reinforced a warrant over at Mansfield. So they had 2 riot vans full of cops over at Mansfield.
Yeah.
They did 2 warrants. They recovered a lot of stuff from there. Unfortunately, I can't show that good work because that's not the investigation and that's ongoing. So Adrian, thank you for your comment. I'm glad that you're enjoying what the Reacher team putting on there. The other teams are starting to use it more often as well. Now they're getting a bit more confident around using social media. So you'll see a bit more coming out from them. And yes, we will put more videos out. We will put some more good news stuff out. And the problem we've had just recently is we've been snowed under. But you will see some more stuff. And they are out and about. They are doing some stuff. In fact, tonight they're out and about on patrol. So
excellent. So I've got Ken from Skegby, who's a little bit concerned about the Buttery Lane area. You know, it's a nice area of Ashfield, but they've witnessed cases of vagrancy, vandalism, burglary, windscreens broken, and the burning of a stolen car. Can you give us an update, please, Mark, on what's happening in Skegby, specifically Buttery Lane, Hillswood, that sort of area?
Yeah, Ken, thank you for your message and your question. In terms of Buttery Lane, it is really, really quiet. Very rarely comes to our attention, to be perfectly honest. Now you made me aware of that. I'll be making sure we're doing a bit of work around that area. But that's the first I've heard of any real significant issues up there. Please bear in mind that every day we're dealing with multiple incidents and a lot of stuff going on in the background. So I'm not going to know every area or what's happening in the finite detail, but I will have a chat with the beat manager. I'll make sure we're up to date on that, and I'll make sure that that area is now on their radar.
So Andy says credit to the police who responded to the aggravated burglary in Sutton last week. They were there within minutes. I've got another chap just asked Gareth about New Cross area. Sorry, Gareth, we've already covered that in the first part of the call. So if you want to go back, that's fine. Nick Sims says, why does Item Street smell like drugs? Oh, I thought that's pretty obvious. I'm going to ask you one now from Eastwood, Mark. Richard seems to think, or is suggesting there's quite a bit of drug dealing in Eastwood on the flats opposite CC Inks, which is on Nottingham Road, I believe. I know Eastwood's not your area, but is this something we can do to get in touch with Alison to get an update on that?
Yeah, I'll have a chat. Obviously, I couldn't say anything around there because I don't cover Eastwood, and I think it's fair to say that from tonight and just some of the questions we've had in the last sort of 20 minutes, there's plenty for me to do in Ashfield. But yeah, I'll get hold of the Eastwood team. I'll make sure that they're aware of that. I know their MPI. I know them very, very well. I know the team over at Ashfield, at Eastwood, including their reach team, and I'd suggest they're probably already doing some work around that.
Yeah.
But it does take time to work up to the point where we can do something proactive, shall we say. Okay.
So we have Robert from Sutton, who thinks that incarcerating offenders can be costly and have little effect on stopping future crimes. Agree with a little bit of that. He touches on community service, local parks like Brierley and the Rookery, who could benefit from people volunteering their services. Is it something, restorative justice, Mark, that you could help with, maybe work with the council, myself, to get young, these people who are committing these petty crimes, should I say, by undertaking some sort of restorative justice and put a little bit back into the community?
Yeah, I'd completely agree with you, and I'd agree with the comment as well. Prison service is very expensive, very, very expensive, depending on what area you're into and what prison you're in. It can be anywhere from about 28 grand a year to about 36 grand higher in the dispersal estate. So yeah, very, very, very costly for the public purse. Reoffending rates are around about 80-odd%, I think 82%, something along them lines. But we do need a deterrent. We do need somewhere to put our most dangerous people, and quite often people don't go into prison for minor offences. In terms of restorative justice, absolutely. It's something I want to do a little bit of work around in the area. I think there's a lot to be done with RJ, restorative justice. For me, I think the area where we need to do a bit of work, and again, Lee, I'll work with yourself. I'll quite happily work with the council and probation service and anyone who wants to do a bit around this, really, would be how we would get that structured in a way to make sure we get some benefit from it.
Excellent.
I wouldn't want people to be getting off with an RJ and then not doing the work on the back of it. I think if you agree to the RJ process, we need to make sure there's a mechanism in place that they actually do that work and the community benefits from it. And again, there's also the transparency around that, so that we can be happy that nobody's getting a political favour from it, or nobody's getting a benefit from a company or anything like that. So yeah, there's a lot of work to do around that, and certainly one I think we need to take forward when we start getting to a bit of a level of normality, definitely.
So just following on from that, Mark, so Damien Hallam, he works for a company that's very big on social responsibility, and they have a social responsibility plan, and he wants to offer voluntary support for up to 5 days across the year once the current restrictions are over. Is there any initiatives he could support, or can you give him any advice on that?
Right then, Damien. First things first, if you can send your details into Lee, clearly you've got Lee's contacts.
Yeah.
I'm sure Lee will pass them on to me, and I'll make some direct contact with you.
That's excellent. You can't go fairer than that. So Jenny Stapleton, Mark, and the Dales, can we see some police on foot around the Farndale, Quarrydale area, please?
Yeah, we can start looking at that area. Again, it's another area where generally we have very few reports. So as you can imagine, I've got to send my officers to where most of the reports are and where the biggest demand is. So please let us know of anything what's going on there so we can target that. It is a big area. But yeah, if we can narrow down where we want our officers, I'm more than happy to send them out there on foot patrol. What you need to remember around foot patrol is people can walk approximately 2 to 3 miles an hour. How much distance they're actually going to cover and how effective foot patrolling is, especially in big open areas like that.
Okay, so Russell White says, can we have speed cameras on Southall Lane? Is there, as there is a weight restriction on Southall Lane because up to 44-ton vehicles use it as a shortcut. Now I know, Mark, Russell, and Mark might correct me, but this is actually a trading standards issue on weight limits on our roads. So if you want to drop me an email on that one, I will make sure that trading standards get that one. So Rob Jacks, he talks about speeding cars and motorbikes and Sherwood Road, Sutton, being used as a cut through to Cowpasture Lane. Yes, I know, I've drove up there many times. It is dangerous. It's an old street. It's an old terrace street with cars parked either side, so it's single lane traffic. And I don't know what the answer to that one is, Mark, because this is a question I get asked all the time about the old streets being used as rat runs and speeding cars. Any advice would be grateful to me as well.
Yeah, it's a tough one. You can go right the way across Nottinghamshire and pretty much anywhere in the UK, and people will use residential streets as a rat run because locals know the local area, know how to get on quicker, and they don't want to be sat in traffic, and quite often they do become rat runs. Alongside that, the big one again is County Council look at road systems. Can they do some better work around the road systems? Is there any work we can do around maybe one-way streets or filters and things like that to put a bit more control measures in? In terms of that area itself and speeding, again, I can stick that on the list with the Fatal 4, and we'll quite happily go up there and do some Fatal 4 work. That might be enough to make people think twice about their driving up there. We have got some community kits that people can go out and do non-evidential Fatal 4 stuff. So we'll put some training on. I can send people out there with non-evidential cameras if people are interested in doing that. And the idea is with that, like we said about common lane in Huffwick, sometimes the visible presence of somebody stood there with a camera and a high-vis vest on can be enough to make people change their perceptions. And again, we're more than happy to link in with the community to do some work around that if that's something the community would like.
Okay, so I've just had an email ping in. Ben from Skegby says there are plenty of idiots, people up to no good in the early hours on Mansfield Road, Skegby, particularly whilst we're in lockdown too. Is there anything happening in that part of Skegby, Mark, to stop these idiots lurking around Mansfield Road?
Again, the teams on nights, they regularly patrol that way up around Skegby and into Stanton Hill and all around sort of there off once around Upsham Street. I'll ask the night team to pay a bit more particular attention around there. If you do see people knocking around and acting in suspicious circumstances, please ring into 101. If we know they're there and we can get people across to them, that's usually our best chance. I would suggest early hours of the morning, people hanging around looking a bit dodgy. There's a good chance there'd be good candidates for a stop search, and that would usually persuade people to move on and not go back to that area at a later date.
So another question I've been asked by email is probably for you and me, Mark. Why is the MP going out with the police on drug raids?
Right, so a couple of things around this. The recent one on Thursday, I think it was, that would just happen to be a lucky coincidence. So just to give you a bit of perspective around that. Some of you might know this, some of you might not, but Lee's really, really vocal in policing in the local area. Lee often holds the police to account, and quite rightly so. And he asked me to go out with him on Thursday and have a wander around Carsick about some areas what are happening up there. So we was out on Thursday actually looking at some crime issues in and around Carsick. And while we met, again, Lee, I don't blow your trumpet here, but he does often have some quite good information coming forward. And he was able to give us that information on Thursday around potential cannabis grow. Now, people might not think cannabis is a bad drug. I would disagree. But the big issue we have with cannabis growers, often people are in there against the will, forced to work there, trafficked into the UK, and are highly vulnerable. More importantly, especially in residential properties, cannabis grows are a significant risk of fire. So if you imagine your next door neighbour has got some really dodgy electrics and a load of heat source, there's a good chance that that house could burn down and endanger others. So as soon as Lee gave me that information on Thursday, for me, we need to go and investigate that. And Lee was able to take us directly to that house. And that's why the reach team forced entry, and with Lee being there because we needed to identify the property. So that's why that one took place on this Thursday. Lee's done a lot of work around us, and as have some of the councillors. So Helen Ansmith's come out a few times. Teresa Hodgkinson, who's the chief executive of the council's come out with us, and we invite a lot of people out. We will, at some point in the future, when COVID's passed, allow some members of the public to come out on ride-alongs. The reason we do that is for transparency, and also to help us with policing in the longer term. You'll know that we get lots of complaints, and we also put forward lots of bids for things. Well, if Lee can actually see what we do on a drugs raid, and when I say to Lee, can you take this back to Parliament? If he's better armed with that full information, he can take that on board. Likewise, any other operations we do, like speeding operations and things like that. It also holds us better to account because other people are seeing what we're doing. So Lee will be out, and like I say, Helen's been out on a couple of us, and a few other people have been out. So a lot of it is about transparency for us. And again, in the roles what we're doing, it is important that we have them discussions and that we manage things, because we have still got policing to do, we have still got community to serve, and we still need to implement that.
Thanks, Mark. So obviously at some stage in this meeting tonight, we're going to talk about Carsick, because I think that's what sort of brought us together. So can we talk about the jitties that lead from the Oval to Carsick Lane? We know there's drug dealing going off there. We know there's all sorts of nastiness and stuff going on there. Can you tell us, please, a little bit, or give us an update on what you're doing on Carsick, and particularly around the parks and the jitty areas? Quite frankly, I want them closed. I want them padlocked and just keys given to the pensioners that live nearby. But can you just give us an update, please, on what's happening there?
Yeah, so Carsick is one of our busy areas, and the Reach team and the local MPT team spend a lot of time up there doing a lot of really good work. We've had some massive results up in around Carsick. The problem we have with drug dealers, the drug dealing is never going to go away. It's going to move, so we need to be flexible with that and move with that. And the current tactic is street level dealing. We did a lot of warrants. I think we did something like 70 warrants in 3 months when I first landed. So the criminals will change their tactics. They didn't want to be caught in a house with it. They then moved into vehicles. We started stopping loads of vehicles. They don't want to do that, so they're now on foot, and we are now engaged in that. A few things we're doing then. We've bought a load of covert bikes, believe it or not. Well, not bought, we've reappropriated them from other areas. So we are doing plainclothes patrols in bikes, so we can get in and around them jitties quite a lot. And we've had some good results. We've had some really good stop searches and some really positive action. We're also doing additional work around the area itself, high visibility patrols, as well as those enforcement patrols. We are building a really strong intelligence picture. So again, if you have got any CCTV videos, stills of any of that drug dealing activity, or you can tell us where that activity is taking place, again, I'll give the email addresses to Lee, and I'm sure Lee will put them out for you. Email it into us, give us an example of where it is, give us any information, and we can work with it. We'll work with the council as well. There's a couple of areas, so Garden Lane's definitely one of them, where we're looking at consideration of cutting off jitties and things like that. There is a big impact around that, community impact stuff, and that is a big piece of work. But they are options we are looking at.
Yeah, so Sophie has made a comment about padlocking is a ridiculous idea. I disagree, because the jitties directly access the old age pension on there. What I'd like to see is some sort of radar key for the old age pensioners to use them jitties safely and securely. And quite frankly, at the moment, they are not safe and they are not secure. And I will be pushing the council to put our pensioners first, to make sure that they're safe and they feel safe. Somebody's put, can we, I don't want Nicola's talking about their jitties. Can we get the jitties closed? Nicola, that's what I've just spoke about. I think, these jitties are being used for antisocial behaviour, for dealing. And you know what? The quick solution would be to give local residents, the genuine residents that need these shortcuts, a radar key like we have in parks to use these areas. So, Mark, we've got Leslie, who just says, "Dear Lee, a straightforward one from us. Thank the local police for all they're doing to deter, detect, and detain criminals. God bless." That's a nice message. So that's you know, a bit of positive news there. So we've got Andy from Huthway again, talking about dirt bikes over the back of Export Drive onto the old railway lines and fields in Huthwaite. My mum's cousin lives near, and she says they're a nightmare, and they can always hear them. So a bit more off-roading dirt bikes in Huthwaite. Mark, any sort of comfort you can offer my residents in Huthwaite?
Yeah, so again, Huthwaite, we are aware of it. Export Drive. You may remember the Facebook post that I put in. I'm going to say it was back end of December time. We put a dispersal order on there because it had got to a point where we needed to break crowds up. That was in place for 48 hours, and it is a measure we will look at again in the future if it comes up. It is quite a draconian measure, so we need to use it sparingly and only when we absolutely must. Yeah, we are aware of that area. The local PC Sisson, she's doing a lot of work around that. We are trying to work with, certainly with the companies around there, as you're aware, a lot of it's commercial, to see if there's something we can do more around access to the area, maybe lighting, CCTV, all that type of thing as well. So we are doing a lot of work around there. We are doing patrols up there. And again, their bike, that ties in again with what we was talking about right at the beginning around the off-road team and trying to build that up.
Okay, so thanks for that, Mark. So Craig Stringfellow says, "Sorry, only just joined. How do you report a suspected drug dealing house?"
Right then, Greg. So, and again, Leslie, thank you for your kind comments. Andy, again, thank you for your question. Greg, I'll stick up I'll get Lee to stick up on his page the emails address for both the MPT, that's your neighbourhood policing team, and the outreach team. Easiest way, personally, is to email them directly because we might have some follow-on questions around it. So email them inboxes, which I'll get Lee to stick out, and I'll also get them put up on our Facebook pages as well, and give us as much detail as you can. An officer might then call you back. They may not. Sometimes the information you will give us will be enough, but we may call you back just to clarify a few bits. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, go through Crime Stoppers. The Crime Stoppers are completely independent. They don't really tell us who's called unless we really need to know. And the good thing around Crime Stoppers is that you can also get a reward on the back of it if the information comes to fruition and you provide any bits and pieces. The number for Crime Stoppers is 0800 555 111. So again, you can easily go through Crime Stoppers if you don't want to come direct to the police.
Thank you, Mark. So Martin Topley asks, what is the government doing to give greater powers to the police? The police can only do so much. Totally agree, Martin. So the good news is there is a new bill going through Parliament to see sentences increased. We're also building new prisons and recruiting extra prison officers. So, like I say, the good news is if you decide that you don't want to live by the rules of our society, then there is a different place where you'll be living, and that place is prison. And like I say, the sentencing white paper is increasing sentences, and there's going to be tougher sentences, and hopefully get some of these nuisances off our street. So that was very helpful. Yes, Nicola, I agree about the courts, but the courts are bound by the law. So Anne says on my comments, Mark, the back of Jubilee Road, the walkway that leads to Westbourne Road, is where the drug dealers are dealing. It needs to be shut off. The bikes are riding up and down, looking on the gardens, etc. So, yes, again, one of the jitties, one of the little cut-throughs on the Corsica estate that is rife with drug dealers.
Yeah, and again, it's one of the areas we're aware of, and again, it comes back to the bikes, and that's why we're going out a little bit more on bikes. We are aware of it. We're doing some work around it. I can't go into too much more detail than that, but it links in with some of the other earlier questions. And again, in terms of reporting, and if you can, certainly when we put the reporting details out, please feel free to use that so we can get a better picture. We can start looking at what times this is happening and whether it's the same people, and it will give us a little bit of a steer towards directing our operations a bit more.
Okay, so one from Underwood, Mark, about nuisance bonfires. Who do we contact to complain or report nuisance bonfires?
I'd be going through the council. Environmental health would be your first port of call really around nuisance bonfires. Obviously, if they are getting out of risk and looking a bit dangerous, then it would be the fire brigade and they would take the lead on that. We work really, really closely with the fire brigade. We do a lot of good stuff with them. So if they needed our support, we would help them out. And back in October, November time, we had Op Safe Keep, which was joint patrolling with fire around things like that. So yeah, for me, council initially, because there's some stuff they could do around that. Failing that, go across to fire. Fire might be able to put some support work out and do a bit of community engagement, identifying why it's a risk. And of course, we're always available for the ASB side of it as well, if need be.
Okay, thanks, Mark. So I've got an interesting one here from Kev, who says, this is an email that came in today, actually. Would you support a few projects with Ashfield School of Boxing? Maybe something like 5 to 6 week training courses for young first-time offenders. An hour and a half once a week, boxing training with half an hour's Q&A with the young lads and girls to see if we can steer them back into a better path. All our coaches are DBS checked, first aid trained and safeguard trained and hold a minimum of level 1 coaching with England Boxing. Now there's an offer you can't refuse.
Oh, sorry, I missed the name for that gentleman. What was his name?
His name's Kev.
Right then, Kev. So first things first, I'm a boxer myself, so I fully get the benefits of boxing. I love the sport. I might actually pop down there myself and do a little bit with you. Fantastic offer. Likewise with Damien. Again, if you can send your details across to Lee, I'm sure Lee will send them on to me. I'll make direct contact with you. Yes, it's a scheme I would definitely be involved in. And there's other bits and pieces what we do in the policing family as well, which may tie into that as well. So yeah, Kev, thank you for your offer. We will look at taking you up on it, and I'll be in touch directly on that one.
Excellent, thank you, Mark. So the one thing that struck me, that this remark here from Jay is about Jay's sick to death of being asked for money when I haven't got any cash. And then they say there's always a cash point. You know, people are begging, hanging around cash points and banks, and they get the sort of idea that PCOs don't really care. Now, this is an important one because I've had, especially females in Sutton, contact me to say they feel a little bit unsafe when they've either been into the bank or been to the cash machine, then they're walking back to the car. So, any advice on that, Mark, would be great.
Yeah, there's a couple of bits on that. We are aware of a couple of rough sleepers who are involved in this line of work at the moment. The community protection team over at Ashfield, the CPOs and what have you, are doing some work around that and seeking injunctions against a couple of people who are involved within that activity. We're aware of them, and wherever they are, we're made aware that they're present there. We do a lot of patrols to try and catch up with them. Ultimately, at the moment, it's sitting with the council, with the antisocial behaviour teams and the CPOs, because they're seeking injunctions. I would suggest please report it through to the Ashfield ASB teams, because that will support their injunction. If there's any direct threats or any threats of violence, or you're in fear, then please ring it through to the police. Certainly, if they're making threats towards you, and demands of menaces, then definitely ring it into us, because we'll be looking at more stringent enforcement action, shall we say.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark. So Wayne says, what is the procedure to report cars for dangerous parking on blind corners?
So 101, basically. Ring 101, go for our control room, they'll mark it up. When it comes to dangerous parking, generally that will sit with the council as a whole, as a remit. However, if it is in a dangerous position and clearly going to cause a risk of injury or a risk of collision, then we'll be getting involved, and we'd be looking at using some of our powers to remove the vehicle or to trace the owner and get them to move it.
Excellent. So Samantha says, my car insurance is waiting for a police report. Why does it take so long to retrieve it?
I couldn't tell you is the honest answer to that, Samantha, unfortunately. Anything along them lines would go to a specialist department, which is at HQ. They're called the DBS team, disclosure, barring, and something else, I can't remember what the S stands for. But they deal with all those type of requests. So it's not an area in policing I'm aware of. Generally speaking, we would have, as with every company and every business really, in every public service, we will have some sort of reporting time frame. What that is, I couldn't tell you. I would suggest you go back to the company, ask them when they made the request, and follow it through from them. Quite often, companies will sit back a little bit and wait, shall we say, for insurance companies. When the request goes through, I think it's around 28 days we've got to reply. I'm just pulling that number out of the top of my head because that's generally the amount of time we've got to reply to various other requests. But yeah, I can't give you a direct answer because I don't work in that department, unfortunately.
Thanks for that, Mark. That's right. So, Mark, can you just advise the people online at the moment what is the difference between calling 101 and Crime Stoppers? Okay,
then. So, Crime Stoppers is an individual charity. They're not associated with the police, but closely affiliated. So, when you're speaking to someone in Crime Stoppers, you are speaking to somebody from an outside agency. They will log and record what you're telling them, and then they'll filter it through our intelligence system. So we get it within about 24 hours. 101 comes directly to our crime team, our force control room, where you'll speak to one of our dispatchers or one of our call handlers who will take that information. The reason why I'd say to report to Crime Stoppers as opposed to 101 is if it's just generic information, just information you want to give us to help us police better, then Crime Stoppers or the email is the best way. Because it doesn't clog up that 101 number for people who genuinely need to get through for something they might need to report there and then, i.e. a crime, what's happening at that time. So that's the reason why we'd use the two. If it's a crime and there's something happening there and then, go with 101, don't go through Crime Stoppers. If it's just generic information that you think might help us in the longer term, then go through Crime Stoppers if you feel comfortable doing that.
Okay, so Stephen says, and this is a big bone of contention, especially in the New Cross and Central area, can we possibly police the fouling of pavements from dogs and make an example of the owners? I don't know how you make an example, Stephen, but I'll be honest with you, I've been down New Cross today again, and it's quite disgusting. I've called upon the council to undertake a thorough clean of the area, a deep clean. And the good news is, Stephen, I've had a private company contact me who's going to offer their services to give an area a thorough cleaning. That is steam cleaning, that is litter picking, that is the all 9 yards. So, you know, with the state of my inbox, I think possibly New Cross and Central area is the favourite at the moment to have a thorough deep clean. Claire says, Mark, when are the police going to stop the racing cars on Pinkston Lane? It's 30 miles per hour between Frandergown Farm and Pinkston Road. A car ended up on its roof last weekend. It needs to be stopped.
Again, that is part of our areas. As you can imagine, just going through what we've been speaking to tonight, everyone's going to have an area of where you want us to police. We have got limited resources. We do go towards Pinkston Road, we go towards Selston, Jacksdale, places like that. So we do like to pop out to them rural areas. So we are aware that there are some areas where we do have speeding in. And again, I'll pass that on to the Fatal 4 team. I'll pass it on to the Hucknall team, not the Hucknall team, sorry, the Kirkby team. And when they're doing their Fatal 4 operations, I'm sure they will pull that area of the road in.
Okay. Thanks, Mark. So Jenny says, still rats down the New Cross area. I mean, I don't think that's a police issue, but I've been doing some work on that personally, Jenny, with the local council, and they agreed, you know, a few months back to have a bit of a purge on the rats, especially around Northern Bridge, the allotments, Outram Street, Garden Lane. There was an outbreak of some unsavoury rats in that sort of area. It is a problem in Sutton at the moment, especially in the town centre. But the New Cross and Central area is, you know, we have a problem with crime, we have a problem with drug dealing, we have a problem with antisocial behaviour, and we have an environmental problem as well with the rats and the rodents. So that, you know, I'm on the case all the time. I'm beating the drum for you, and I know Mark's supporting his officers to make sure that we try and make that area as safe as possible, because I do feel that traditionally in the past you've probably been let down a little bit. So seriously, you know, the central New Cross area is firmly on my radar. So Mark, can you tell me, moving on, what can the public do to help you do your job better?
Well, that's that's the $1 million question, isn't it? For me, it's all about information. The more information you can give us through the appropriate channels, the better targeted response I can give you. So I'll go back to Jenny and bringing up the Farndon area. I didn't know around that. Likewise, Ken and Scaby Butler. Then, if we know about it, we can start doing more around it. So I know that a lot of you will speak to Lee. I know a lot of you will speak to your local councillors, and they'll give me feedback. If I got a quid for every time Lee sent me an email or sent the team an email, I'd be on a beach somewhere. So we do have a lot of interaction with local partners, but a lot of it needs to come directly to us. It gives us more work, certainly when we're looking at things like warrants and stuff like that, to have that direct, and also so we can maybe ask you some questions directly as well. So with that, what I would suggest is get in touch with us, use the email addresses which we're going to stick out later on, use Crime Stoppers. If it's a crime in action or you want to report a crime or something what's ongoing, then 101 and 999 quite rightly so, if that's needed. The other side is work with us. Let us know what the issues are. You know, there's lots of people out there, the likes of Kev and Damon, who've both offered up some services. By all means, if there's a service you can offer to make your community better, let us know. We'll get involved with it. We'll assist in the pointing people together and putting the right people in the right places. I want to deliver policing. That's all my issue is. I'm employed by Nottinghamshire Police to serve you guys to deliver policing response. So the way we can help you is by listening to what you say, working with you to get things done. So anything you can do, let us know. There's no suggestion or no question too small for me.
Right, we've got 5 minutes left, Mark, and I want to thank you for your time. But can you tell me a little bit, something that really interests me with Nottinghamshire Police is your brave police dogs. Can you tell us a little bit about the arrests they've been making? I've seen one called Wolf the other week who apprehended a couple of unsavoury characters. Let's hope his teeth weren't damaged in the arrest. But tell us about these police dogs and why these criminals should not run away from them.
Shouldn't run away from them because they're really, really, really quick and they're really, really scary. Is the common sense answer to that, Lee? I know you've been up to HQ. You've had a bit of a look at the dogs and seen the demonstrations. So police dogs are part of our operational support team. They are one facet of many other people, and they're regularly up in Ashfield. They come up and support us a lot. We've got different types of dogs. So we've got cadaver dogs, which can smell out dead bodies and the like. We've got drug dogs. We've got firearms, all sorts of stuff. But the ones you're on about, Lee, are the big scary things with great big teeth. Really well trained. The officers are fantastic with them. They know how to work that dog. And we use them to good effect. They are a proper force multiplier. We do get them up here. We get them up here a hell of a lot. The dogs are brilliant. Please don't try and stroke them because they really don't like being stroked. But they are just part of our ongoing commitment. We are, we've got dog cover on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm not going to discuss their operational capabilities, but they are bloody good. And we get a fair share of them up in Ashfield. And they are part of the same contingent, which give us the tactical sport teams, the road policing team, and the firearms team. We are seeing a lot of them up here. They love working in the area. I've managed to get them up here more often since I've taken over. We've got some brilliant relationships with them teams. They want to come up here and do a good job. They want to work. They want to get stuck in. They like catching bad guys and bad women. Let us know where we can find bad guys and bad women. They'll go out and get them.
Excellent stuff, that, Mark. So we're going to finish shortly, but I just want to come back on the dog team. Yes, I went to HQ. I met the dogs, and I went with the intention of slipping on the old chew suit and sprinting away, and hopefully having a Belgian Shepherd pull me to the ground and savage me. But when I saw the dogs there in action, I soon changed my mind. They are ferocious. They are extremely brave, and we're very lucky to have them. And we're very lucky to have you, Mark, and Nottinghamshire Police, to come and be so open and candid, and and put yourself in the firing line to take questions from the public. So I think moving on, if it's okay with you, every few months or so, we'll do a similar event, so people from Ashfield and Eastwood can question you and hold you to account and hold me to account, and more importantly, get the updates from you, which your brilliant Facebook page does every single day. That's brilliant. If you want to, finish with a closing comment to my constituents, that would be great.
Yeah. So, firstly, thank you, Lee, for putting this together. Absolutely, I'll take your offer to come and do this every couple of months or so. More than welcome to do that. It's really important, I feel, that we do this and we engage like this because it gives us transparency. It lets the public know what we're doing. More importantly, you've brought up some really, really good points tonight, what we need to take on board. What I would say is we are listening to you. Our 3 priorities at the moment are reducing violent crime, especially those involved in robberies or with weapons, tackling drug dealing, because again, that links in really closely with the ASB and stuff like that, and tackling dangerous and reckless driving. So we are aware of priorities and we are tackling them. Give us as much information as we can. We can be able to go out and deliver and do a better job for you. We are here for you. We're not going away anywhere. Please stick to the COVID regulations which are out there. I know it's a bit of a drain, it's a bit of hard work at the moment, but at the moment, that is probably our biggest demand. Our biggest demand is managing COVID at the moment. So if you can do your little bit, that would be really, really useful. The infection rates are through the roof, deaths are through the roof. Great that it's going down. But if we can, please continue to follow that. And hopefully that means we can go out and concentrate on the stuff like dangerous driving, like the drug dealing, like the ASB. So we're not having to deal with COVID-related matters. We can then go back to traditional policing.
Excellent. Right. Thank you, Mark. It is 7 o'clock, bang on an hour. Thanks for your time. Thanks to the people of Ashfield and Eastwood for tuning in, asking these questions. Anything else you want to ask, please email me on lee.anderson.mp@parliament.uk, and I will be bending Mark's ear over the next few months to get some proper answers for you. And hopefully in a couple of months' time, we will do this again. So big thanks to Mark, Ashfield Police, and especially the Reacher team who are doing a cracking job. So thank you very much. We're going to log off now, not being rude, so thanks for joining.